So today we're drawing our last map of Maryland. We're going to make a soft dough map. So we're going to use our boards, and we're going to start with our map across our line across the top of Maryland that we've been drawing. Remember, we're not going to go all the way across, maybe about here. And then, oh wow, you really can't see it too well on this. Okay, and we're going to go straight down, about so far, out for our coast in there, down for, okay, so we're now going to draw the top of the Chesapeake Bay. There's the Chester River, and this is Kent Island right here. We haven't really talked about too much. You can put it in or not. Up till now we've just really been doing just a squiggly little line here, right? Choptank River, coming down to southern Maryland. There's the Nanticoke River, some inlands, and then man-made border over here. And we have the coast, the bottom of Virginia down here. And then we're going to do our other side of the Chesapeake Bay, the western side we live on. Up here is the Susquehanna River. And right over here is basically the Baltimore Harbor. Over here is where the Bay Bridge is. We're going to go down the big old Chesapeake Bay. Coming down here, we have the place where the Patuxent is coming in, and the mighty Potomac. Over here, and we've been going up here to the midpoint, right by Cumberland, and running this border over here and over there to where Backbone Mountain is, and then following our Patapsco River here down and around and a little bit and down. And there's DC is right in there. All right, so there we have our basic map of Maryland, which you've drawn quite a few times. Now we're going to get out our salt clay, and we're going to use it to put in our mountains and things. So remember, we have, and we may be drawing our map of Maryland back on top of this afterwards again, but it's nice to know where we were to start. So our highest area is up here in this, or you know what, why don't we keep it inside of our borders? We'll just do the topography of Maryland. So keep this nice high part inside, and we'll pretend like the rest of the world does not exist for this particular map. Here's our map, our high parts there, and we can even put some mountains, some nice ridgy mountains up on top. And another really high part is where the Blue Ridge Mountain is going to be, and we can put the Blue Ridge coming right over here. You can kind of smush it down into the board. This board has a nice grain, so when we get to painting painting the water on, it's going to look pretty cool. I'm going to put another little mountain ridge over here. There's those ridges. I guess there's like basically 2 ridges. All right, and there's ridges and valleys up here. We can fill that in on our map, and just use your fingers to gently push the salt clay down in so that the map of Maryland is going to start to be nice and bumpy. You can go ahead and cover the whole state. Now, down here on this side, it's going to be pretty low, but you're going to have to start by making it high and then smoothing it in. Yeah, but it's going to be pretty low just so you can get that salt dough to stick onto your board. I must say there's not much contrast. It's going to be hard for you to see this on the video between the board and the clay. They're almost the same color, but hopefully you can just make out it enough to see, because we're going to cover all of it with a nice little layer of salt clay. And if as it dries, if it starts to come up too much, you can always slip a little bit of glue underneath if for some reason it does. I think it should stick on though. I actually didn't do these with my last class, but many classes have done these. I think the last salt clay map I made actually was maybe in 5th grade. But I think, and this clay is much nicer than the clay I used in 5th grade. I remember the clay I used in 5th grade was kind of hard to work with. So hopefully you mixed your clay nicely and it's not too hard to work with. All right. And we're just going to cover all of Maryland with some land. You can see this actually got pretty high for coastal flat plains. You can use it to flatten it out, but let's just worry about getting it covered right now. And then we can make sure that the parts that are higher, and the parts that are lower. And you're just going to take your fingers and gently smush some clay into all the outlines of Maryland on this little map. And I'm finding I'm using my fingertips quite a little bit. Quite a bit to just smush it in and move it around. You're going to have a lot of clay left over, which is going to be fun. Maybe I'll come up with some new projects to do next week with it. For fractions, oh yeah, let's save it for fractions. We're going to do fractions next week, and we can make really good, fun things that we can cut up out of the salt clay to show fractional parts. All right. So we're going to paint these on Monday. These will be cool to paint. We'll use those watercolors that I gave you, and those should paint these nicely. But because by Monday, this should dry out enough that, like, if we painted it now, it just would get to be a goopy mess. But by Monday, it should be good. All right. So I'm trying to smooth it out here. I guess we could have a little bit more clay up here. And on your map, you want to see, so I have it all covered now. Now it's time for me to check what's the highest part, what's the lowest part. Of course, the lowest part is going to be the part without anything, but you can go ahead and really try to make this part on the eastern shore quite low. That's all coastal lowlands. You can just use your thumb. You see how I'm pushing it down. And if it starts to go into the areas that you don't want it, you can just kind of pick it off. But you do have to push it down, otherwise it's not going to stick. And you'll just have to fiddle a little bit. You could also use your pencil as a tool if you want to go back and put rivers in. If you want to put some rivers in, you can put some rivers in. I definitely want to get that Susquehanna in there. Nice big indent up there. You can really see that Maryland is kind of sliced up there into two parts. You cannot get to the Eastern Shore part without either going over the bay or going over the Susquehanna. You have to go over a bridge. And so if you're on this side of Maryland on the Eastern Shore, you're going to have to cross water to get to the other part.